Alrighty, I'm about to go to the movies by myself. I'm gonna go see The Northmen, which I've heard really good stuff about, but I do have to be honest. I've seen The Witch, but I haven't seen The Lighthouse. But I promise it's on a list somewhere of movies I have to watch before I die. I'll get to it eventually. But right now, I'm gonna go see The Northmen. So I just got out of seeing The Northman, and wow, that was a wild ride. Definitely gives me a lot to think about. I definitely need to watch it again at some point with subtitles because I definitely missed some words here and there because of the accents and stuff. I feel like it was very Shakespearean, and it was definitely very artsy-fartsy, but I'm telling you right now, it might be a perfect film. The Northman is directed by Robert Eggers and stars Alexander Skarsgård, Ethan Hawke, Nicole Kidman, and Anya Taylor-Joy. And because my audience is mainly from TikTok, I just want to make it clear this movie is not for kids. It is very brutal and gruesome, and is definitely intended for adults. I'm not crazy about art house films. Some of them don't work for me, they're just a little too out there. I kind of roll my eyes sometimes when I see some kind of like imaginary sequence or some kind of imagery to symbolize what's going on in the story. And this movie has stuff like that sprinkled throughout. And again, I've seen The Witch, wasn't crazy about it, and I have yet to see The Lighthouse, which I think is probably considered blasphemy. But I really enjoyed The Northman. I definitely feel like the first half is a lot slower and takes its time, but once the second half started, I felt like we were really on this ride. And when the credits rolled on this movie, I just kind of sat there for a minute and just pondered what I had just watched. The film follows Amleth, played by Alexander Skarsgård, starting with him as a kid and showing how he ends up on this path of revenge. And this movie is brutal. Alexander Skarsgård is a beast in this movie, and he is jacked. And the reason why this film is so good is mainly because Alexander Skarsgård is so committed to this role. He's playing what they call a berserker, and he goes berserk at moments. And because it's so Shakespearean, every time the characters talk in this movie, it feels like they're talking with this power and great motivation, and it makes for wonderful storytelling. And the budget for this movie is insane compared to The Witch or The Lighthouse, but because of the film that it is, I don't think it's gonna make its money back. And despite its huge budget, it is a very contained story. And I was actually surprised to see that back in this time period, kingdoms, or whatever you would call them, were actually just these smaller village communities. But everything in this film is a 10 out of 10, from the performances, to the cinematography, to the score. Again, it's a very straightforward revenge tale, and I did feel like there wasn't a whole lot of depth when it came to the characters besides Amleth. And back to what I said about art house films and those sequences that show symbolism and things like that, it worked for me in this film about 90% of the time. There were a few moments where I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit because there are those situations where you're seeing something on screen and you don't quite know what the hell it is until later on after you kind of think about the symbolism of it all. And I think that's the biggest thing that's gonna turn people off. This movie was kind of marketed as like another Gladiator or Braveheart, but it's nothing like that. But if you go into this movie expecting a revenge style epic with art house elements throughout, I think you'll have a much better time. And I am gonna give The Northman a 9 out of 10. I'm very curious to see what we get next from Robert Eggers, and as an actor watching this film, I legitimately was in awe of the performances. This movie is worth seeing for Alexander Skarsgård's performance alone, and I definitely think this movie is going to be worth picking up on Blu-ray. But at the end of the day, I go to movies because I want to feel something, and this movie made me feel a lot, and at times it made me feel weird and uncomfortable, but that's just kind of what you get with art house films. So I'm very curious to see what you guys think about The Northman. Let me know what you would score it and where you would rank it amongst Robert Eggers films. Stay tuned very soon for more movie reviews, and if you like these reviews, you want to see more of them, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single one. And also, if you guys want to go the extra mile and support my content even more, be sure to use GFUEL code DannyD. That'll save you 10 to 30% off your order at gfuel.com. And if you're not sure what flavor or flavors to start with, be sure to check out my catalog of GFUEL reviews on this YouTube channel. But that's gonna be it for this one. As always, stay safe, be kind to one another out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!